Hey, Ming here. We're going to automate some exposure from a properly exposed part of a clip to a darker side of the clip. Now, sometimes ending with dark exposure is desired, but we're going to say that we wanted fairly even exposure across the clip. We're going to do this with automation, keyframing, which is actually easier than it sounds in Davinci Resolve. You can see the values drop dramatically as we scrub the timeline. At the end of the clip, we have a lot of information that's lost. If we increase the lift, you can see that it's clipped. With raw footage, like Blackmagic Raw, we usually get a lot more information to play with, and clipping isn't as much a problem, especially with proper exposure. When I increase the gain, you can see that we are essentially stretching a small amount of information over a wider area. This usually introduces noise. We'll deal with the noise reduction in our next video. We'll reset this back to normal. The first thing we want to do for keyframing exposure is to create a new node using Option S or Alt S. This allows us to make changes without affecting prior or subsequent node changes. We click from our scopes to our keyframes. Our new node is number 2. This is represented by corrector number 2. If you made node 3, it would be represented by corrector number 3, and so on. We turn on global keyframes for corrector number 2 here. This means that whenever we make any changes in this node, it will be keyframed. Let's start by adding a keyframe at the beginning by hitting Option or Alt K. We move to the end and we add another keyframe with Option K. For a simple adjustment, we'll increase the gain to something like 2.5. You can always go to your scopes and see what's clipping. For this particular one, I don't want to clip the greens as much, because then we start getting into the chessboard itself. So 2.5 is going to be fine. Go back to our keyframes. Our adjustment is now automatically keyframed. Remember, anything we do now will be keyframed. As we scroll back and forth, you can see the exposure ramp from 1 up to 2.5. In this version of Davinci 16.2.1, there seems to be a small glitch where the numbers aren't updated in real time, but you can see the change is occurring. And what I mean by that is, as I'm resting here, we go halfway through. This should be halfway between 1 and 2.5, should be represented here, but it's not. It should be updated. Again, I have a feeling that'll be taken care of in the next revision. But the actual ramping does occur. This looks okay, but let's make it so that it doesn't flare out here. We're going to create another keyframe about here. Option Alt K. That way I can adjust how fast it'll transition. And while we're at it, I'll create another one about here with Option or Alt K. Now you can see that the values have been updated accurately once you create the keyframes, but they should still ramp down properly from here. They are actually doing that, it's just that numbers aren't updated. I'm sure somebody's on that. You can adjust keyframes by just grabbing them and sliding them until everything looks right. So I'm going to take this one, and where it is about here, I want this to be 1. So we're going to take this, and we're going to have this one represent 1. Where it's 1.6, I'm going to just drop that down to 1. There we go. And now, it's a transition that goes right there, and then starts ramping up while it gets into the carpet. So here, this transition is too bright. It goes too quickly, like turning on a light. So I'm going to grab the keyframe here, and we'll see about where I want that brightness, which is 2.5, remember. We will keep it bright at that level about here. I'm going to go here, and we're going to make that 2.5. There. So that way we're bright right about here. The transition occurs here. We're going to, you can see where it flares out there. And that's simply because this needs to be adjusted. The further I move that away from the timeline marker, there we go. That's about right. Then from this point, it's bright and nice. And you can see that noise was introduced here. But again, we'll take care of that in the next video. Overall, we go from this. Got a little flare out here yet. I'm going to drag this, release it. There. So this is play it by ear. You're going to scroll this back and forth, and you're going to look for the transition. Right now, you really can't tell the transition occurred. It looks really nice. As we scroll through, let it play. Good. I'm happy with that. Again, you can always change any of these keyframes and even add other ones. But one of the keys is the fewer keyframes that you make, the easier it is overall. If you start nitpicking and adding 5, 6 different keyframes over time, that tends to get a little jarring. Not that it can't be done, but you have to make sure you don't get carried away. Otherwise, things start changing up and down, and you lose the simplicity of what you're trying to accomplish, which is just that this is properly exposed and this is properly exposed. I hope you enjoyed this. Please subscribe if you haven't to help grow this channel. If you have any questions, please leave them in the comments below. And thank you for watching.